It's been a hot summer this year in Nebraska, and we're starting to feel the effects of the heat on our landscape and vegetable gardening. And one of the plants in particular that we're getting calls about is the tomato. Callers are asking us why their plants are not producing the yield that they should, or they're not producing at all. And this is coming across a wide range of cultivars, anything from our beefsteak tomatoes down to our cherry and grape tomatoes. And what we're seeing is the effects of the heat. When we have daytime temperatures above 90 degrees, this can make the pollen sterile. And when the pollen becomes sterile, the fruit production actually slows down or it can completely stop. There's not much we can do about the heat except for wait for some cooler weather, but we could consider try some of those new heat-tolerant cultivars such as Solar Flare, Sun Chaser, or even Florida 91. Another problem that we're starting to see on tomatoes is blossom end rot. This is when the bottom of the fruit becomes dark and sunken. It is not a disease, but it is a calcium transport issue. Calcium is difficult for the plant to move in dry soils, so one of the things that we can do is keep the soil evenly moist, consistent watering, and mulch the plants. This is going to help get the calcium from the soil to the fruit. Calcium is rarely missing in our soils here in Nebraska. Something else that we could take a look at with blossom end rot is what type of fertilizer are you using. High nitrogen fertilizers or fertilizers that are ammonium based can actually make blossom end rot worse. So for having some of those problems, make sure that you keep the soil evenly moist and maybe consider swapping out your fertilizer. And finally, we are starting to see a lot of our different diseases show up on our plants, ranging from early blight, anthracnose, bacterial speck, or bacterial spot. These are fairly common diseases. Besides good plant health care, we can make sure that our plants are mulched. That's going to help reduce splashing onto the leaves. When we do water, we want to make sure that we're watering the soil and not the plant so we can keep those leaves dry. Besides those practices, consider rotating your crops. And if you're still having issues, look at some of the new cultivars because they are resistant to some of these diseases. If you're going to decide to apply a fungicide, have that disease identified because bacterial diseases are not well managed with a fungicide. There's not much we can do about the heat. We still have plenty of growing season ahead of us, and hopefully that weather's going to cool off and our tomatoes are going to start producing for us, and eventually some of us are going to get those tomatoes for our BLTs.